Hi, everyone.
Aloha. My goodness, all kinds of surprises on here. Just as you're coming in, taking some deep, slow inhales and exhales. Waiting for a few more.
Can you hear? I'm gonna hold it so you can.
Do I have an echo now, Mary? Sweet. All right. Welcome. Oh my gosh. Tonight is going to be so fun. I think this is my first time I've done a Hawaii event nighttime. So super excited tonight. Just some vibes here for all of you. And tonight we also have a super special guest, dear friend, sweet soul sister, Kanaka Maoli, spiritual mentor and teacher, Kai. And Kai, if you just want to say hi.
Sure. Hi, guys. I'm super stoked to be here. I've been wanting to talk to Barrett and have this kind of conversation with other people for a while, so I'm excited for tonight. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Barrett.
Absolutely. Yeah, so yeah, the first time that I met Kai, instantly I was like, oh, we're totally gonna do stuff together. I can just feel it, you know? So, and where we actually met first is what we're gonna talk about tonight after Maui, which all of you know what has happened in Maui, but there are so many different layers to any experience, right? So we're going to be exploring some different layers of reality as to what has happened and is currently happening in the development of consciousness on the planet. Taking a look at the energetics of that. So just beginning, taking some deep, slow inhales and exhales as if you could breathe through the bottoms of your feet. Settling into your own bodies as I do the same. And then we'll begin. Invoking the energies of the earth to rise and meet your feet. Grounding any excess energy in the nervous system. Really feeling your being connecting to the center of the planet. Finding any pattern of tension, anywhere you're holding tension in the body, just bringing your attention here. Allowing your presence to rest, relax, and unwind. And opening to your soul's direct connection to this body and to source, however you like to call it, God, source, universe, you. Allowing that to fill every cell of your being with unconditional love and light. Tuning into your lower belly. Give myself permission to be safe. Give myself permission to be safe. Just tuning into your heart. Give myself permission to be here, to be present. And to know myself in community. Tuning into the top of your head. Give myself permission to know, see, and feel. And just moving, clearing the central channel of your body. Just preparing to receive all the beauty to be shared tonight. Whether you know what that feels like or not, just breathing through the center of your being, all the way from the top of your head to the bottoms of your feet, allowing every inhale and exhale to clear the central channel of your body, connecting all three centers, Unihipili, Uhane, and Aumakua. Part of the beauty that we're creating here, especially as Kai and I have talked about, is connecting communities. Just everyone that's gathered here now and that will participate later. Just really feeling the bond of community. And it is this aspect of community which will help us move forward. The world has been quite empty of its fullness, empty of the very thing that gives us life. And this isn't something that is dangerous or bad. There's all sorts of theories on what's happening in the world, right? And especially when it comes to Maui, there were tons of experiences that were people were having about what this means or what's happening. And while all of those you're safe to explore, I personally want to talk about the energetics of what I experienced when I went to Iao. Second, a few more people are coming in. I can feel myself so excited. There's so many different things that I want to talk about right now. So let's just zoom back for a second. How am I even connected to Maui? I always joked as a kid, still do, that I was conceived on Maui. Was born and raised in Oregon, but nothing ever made sense to me energetically except for Maui and the islands. And every time we would come here, it felt like I was returning home and that this was reality and that was like a dream world that was happening. And moving here almost 10 years ago now, and just deepening and deepening and deepening into the connection with this place, I've always known it to be like a heavenly realm. And in fact, the first time that I moved here, I was asking my spirit, because my spirit was just like, move to Hawaii. And literally like 2 weeks later, I was on a plane moving to the islands. And I asked my spirit, like, well, why am I going to the islands? And my spirit said, because you're supposed to activate and help the new grids. And at the time I was like, whatever that means, I just hear things and move on. And as soon as I landed, I heard, this will be where heaven touches first, and it will be transmitted to the rest of the world from here. And I hear these things all the time and I just forget what they mean. And I remember a few years later waking up one day and feeling like the actual energy of that, like more sacred energy touching down and being on the islands. And I hadn't told anyone about what I had heard. And my friend messaged me that day. He's like, do you feel that? He's like, it feels like heaven is here. And so it's just like, that was like the beginning of me being on the islands. It was just this like opening and this message, this constant message of heaven's frequencies will touch here first and be transmitted to the rest of the world. And the Pacific Ocean acts as a satellite dish and receives codes and also transmits them. And that was the vision that I had as this message came through. So fast forward to August 8th, which was the day of the fires. But before the fires, I was getting ready that day. The wind was really intense. And I have this vest that I wear, and I only wear it when I feel the energy of it because it has a phoenix on it. And my friend invited me to go dancing, and I put on this vest, and I was telling my roommate as I was leaving, I was like, Kilau Poeo, like the phoenix is in the air tonight, rebirthing everything. And I just like felt it so strongly. And so I drove to the North Shore and dancing. And at some point, this friend and I both like dropped without any context or reason or why. Like it just was like this sudden feeling of like absolute devastation, and was just like crying on the beach with no real reason why. I just trying to explain the emotion that I was feeling, but completely devastated internally. Like I've never felt energy like that before. So the next day I'm getting ready to, I'm like, well, I'm going to go back to Maui because I had moved to Oahu, and I came back to, I was planning on going back to Maui to help. I don't know what I was going to do, but I was like, I have to go back to Maui. Well, that night, the night after the fires, I went to sleep and was woken up at like 2 a.m. And I heard, it was like my room was filled with thousands of voices, Hawaiian voices chanting. And I'm woken up, this sound of their voices literally vibrating inside of my body. And I see in my vision these two strands of light, and they're beginning to get pulled up and twist together. And there was the old kingdom and the new kingdom, and they were all being raised up and twisted together. And it was just all this energy and feeling and knowing of just like, this is the beginning of something that has been before, that is already and is becoming simultaneously. And these islands are one of the most sacred places on the planet. And after seeing that vision, I was like telling my friends, and they were like, you know, that doesn't really, that's not a normal experience to hear Hawaiian chanting in waking you up in your dreams. And so I just kept following this, right? And so then I'm on the islands, and I'm with this woman that I've been working with, and her and I together, our energy is like, her energy is very like expansive and like kind of beyond this world, right? My energy is like very like anchored in the body. Like all of my spiritual experiences have always rather been quite like in the body, like, you know, spontaneous shifts of health and wellness in the body, like different things, like very body based. And so our energy together just had like a specific effect of like bringing two opposites together. And so right after the fires, we're there, and there's this call to just go into Iao. We take a bunch of different Hawaiian ferns from Pohala Hawaiian Botanicals, and as we're entering the grounds, it was like an energy I've never felt before in Iao, of just this sacredness. I mean, there's already a sacred quality to Iao, but walking in, we would take a fern, and it was like a key that would allow us to get in. And it was like the ferns relate to emotional intelligence. Each fern, the Hawaiian ferns, relates to a certain quality, emotion, or trait of aloha. And so when you take their tincture, it purges out of your body all that's not in resonance with that original divine blueprint of that specific quality, trait, or emotion of aloha. So we're like entering, and there's these different ferns that are allowing, like literally, if you'd walk up to a wall and you weren't allowed to move, and then I would hear whatever fern we were supposed to ingest at that time to move through, and then you would process the emotion and then move through. And as we're going in, there's like different layers of different grief, different understandings, perceptions of what's happened on the islands, not just about the fires, but just throughout time and history. And literally feeling like the deaths of those individuals in that valley coming out of my body. So just a very, very interesting experience. And we get to the center, and then the final fern, believe was Kihi fern of pandemonium, like ruling quantum leaps. So we take this fern, and enter into like the deepest part of Iao that we went, the energy that was there was, it felt blasphemous to even be experiencing it. Like it was so sacred, so beautiful, and watching as all these different pieces of information were coming together about how the light of creation and the sound of creation had finally met. And so if you can think about the origin point of the universe, the light and the sound, right? There's the light of creation, but sound travels at a different pace than the light. And so you have the fullness of creation, which would be the light and the sound together. But up until that moment, we had been experiencing the light of creation. And what's happening now is the sound of creation has finally caught up with the light. And so everything from that moment forward, I mean, everyone was feeling it. People were texting me from all over the world about just, it wasn't just the fire, but that there was something greatly shifting in the cosmos at that specific moment. And as I experienced it, it was the beyond this reality and this, the forms that exist here touching together. And you could see heaven and Iao touching each other like this, and the energy coming into the valley and transmitting to the rest of the island. And it was only like the deepest part of Iao where you could actually feel and experience it. And I literally remember being there and I was like, this must be like what Moses felt like, you know, he like went into the mountain and like had this experience. I'm like, this is totally that moment. Like this energy is like, so it literally made me feel like I should not be having that experience. Like it was that holy, and really didn't feel like I could talk about it at the time because of the vast difference between what I experienced in Iao and what was happening in the rest of the island. And so I'm walking around just aware of this energetic component that is happening. And the thing about the really interesting thing about the fires. So my friend Keone, who his company is Hawaiian Botanicals, we were texting like the day after the fires and piecing all these things together because I was feeling Kilau Pueo, the phoenix, also the representing the fern of ruin. So it's all about rebirths. And I'm pretty sure it's Kihi fern or for pandemonium. So anyways, he sends me the state seal and it has Kihi fern of ruling quantum leaps. It has the phoenix and it has the year of statehood, right? Which at the time, at that timestamp in 24-hour time is literally the exact moment that all of Lahaina was up in flames. And he is messaging me about how Lahaina, when you avale the word, when you pull it apart, it translates to sacrifice by fire. And so it's like all of these things are encoded into the storyline of what humanity is. And part of moving forward from this point forward, and I know I'm going all over the place, I promise it's all going to come together. There's just so much information. Everyone's life is changing at this moment and continuing going forward because who you are, who you thought you've been, has only been the form of what you are. And while individually we can come fully into our bodies at different times, the effect of having a place on the planet where that energy of what people call heaven, is literally touching the planet, is shifting the quality of the energetics that are actually allowed to even exist on this planet. And so as that energy and frequency is coming into the planet, it is beginning to purify all that is here that's not in resonance. Just like taking the ferns is purifying out of your emotional body all that's not in resonance with that original divine blueprint of each quality, trait, or emotion of aloha. The fact that the energy and frequency of the quote unquote higher realms is now merging into the physical architecture of our world has drastic effects on what is allowed to stay here. And so the things that you think you were, felt like you wanted to do, desires, wants, relational patterns, all of these things that aren't actually you, that were never wrong, it just wasn't the fullness of what your life is here to be. And so there's a lot of reordering that has occurred, and I've been hearing for weeks the great reordering. Everything that we have functioned in the previous world was outer to inner. We're in this outer world and we're trying to organize all of these things to fit with what we want in the inner. And what's actually happening now is the inner truth of your being is more of the place where your focus will be, whether chosen or forced. And not in a like it's not actually against your will, because this game is ruled by our will. And our will in this lifetime is to come into full contact with our totality in physical form to whatever degree that we have personally contracted to experience. So the opportunity is massive to know and feel and be connected to source in the body and have an experience of what it's like to be individuated sparks of God, of consciousness. So there's this element that the performance is over, but the real show is actually just getting started. And there's been this sense of disconnect from our true selves that many of us has felt our entire lives. We're connected, but it's like something is off and we don't know exactly what it is. And so in this period of the great reordering, it's this internal focus that allows everything inside of you to begin blossoming externally. And this is why there's also a huge shift of really questioning, especially on the islands right after the fire, like what it really means to exist on these lands. What are we really creating? Are we creating an alignment with the land itself? Is this really what is designed to be here, or is it forms that are just here that didn't really align with the actual architecture. Settling deeper. Always interesting. I've been working as a channel and intuitive really my whole life, but for the last 5 years. And whenever there's something that's like far greater than what I have planned, it's like shocking to my body. It just feels like there's so much coming in all at once. So just taking a few deep, slow inhales and exhales to settle into what wants to come through. And just moving your consciousness to Maui, to Iao, whether you know exactly where that is or not. Just intending to move to this space and gathering here together. There's a lot of grief here to be processed, not just because of what happened, but because of what this event truly means for our world. And this moment was truly the beginning of a series of massive changes on the planet. Anchoring into this space of Iao. Just asking that whatever is required in order for the energy of what occurred here in Iao on Maui, this anchored, integrated, and embodied with grace, ease, and mercy to the physical and all things affecting the physical to the ethereal. Pulling, releasing, resolving out of the body any misalignments to your soul's true coordinates, your own internal compass, organizing, clarifying, according to your soul's direct connection to your body and to source. Working with the intestines, any emotional patterns held or contained in the intestines that are incongruent and incompatible to who you are and who you are becoming. Feeling any emotional debris, releasing, resolving any grief, sorrow, sadness, just allowing the body permission to feel, experience, express, and complete. Part of the devastation that I felt in the collective on the night of the fires, before I even knew what that the fires were happening. It's the ending of all these stories as we knew them, but it's also the birthplace of a whole new chapter of what's going to be created. And life is always giving us greater than we could ever dream of asking to receive for ourselves. First, we have to fully accept the new coordinates of where we are. So just anywhere and everywhere in your life where there's been devastation, because everything works macro to micro, micro to macro, and is working in fractals. So everything that you have experienced since this fire is your specific fractal of a massive transformation. Where have the storylines of your own life fallen apart? I call it the collapse of identity in this moment that we're in collectively. All the ideas, the beliefs, the conclusions, the perspectives and perceptions that you thought you had, that you were so sure of, that you based your experience of self on, are beginning to be moved faster than they can be kept in the same place by your consciousness. Just breathe, release, relax. Bringing in the trust, the knowing, and the perspective of source of all that has already occurred, is occurring, and will occur throughout all perspectives of your experience, across all dimensions, time, and space. Bringing everything that has a specific charge to it in neutrality, and witnessing that neutrality be brought in across all layers and levels of being, physical to ethereal. Present to the deep grief. Just witnessing the full spectrum of the world and the people that have been on this land for thousands of years, to people who have visited one time but were touched for eternity. Feeling the pain of that great shift. Truly monumental trauma that we have to complete in order to move forward. Just for now, holding this field of energy that we're purifying through our collective attention here. Don't look for anything better than what this moment is. Just find any grief in your body, allowing all grief, all sadness, all sorrow connected or associated or related to this great trauma, known or unknown, discovered or undiscovered, remembered or forgotten. Allowing the pain of this moment to be a portal of transmutation for all that has occurred across all dimensions, time, and space, in all languages that you speak or have spoken. Really feeling that clearing out, unihipili, your na'au, where your spirit lives. There may be layers and patterns of tension here still, just bringing your attention to this. I give myself permission to feel this fully. Give myself permission to feel my feelings completely, and it's okay. Feeling clear in some of us as some of us are still moving through it, just holding space for everyone here together. Letting the great cosmic cry. So many of us are processing emotion that is far beyond just this lifetime. Doesn't have to make sense in order for you to feel it. If you're on these islands or connected to them, there's a reason. Feeling the now, our collective field continue to clarify, cleanse, purify, release, and resolve. Just allowing all ideas, beliefs, conclusions, understandings, perspectives, and perceptions, identities, attachments, and overlays related or associated to any trauma or held energy that was cleared. Anything related or associated to that. Also resolving this to completion. And letting your soul's direct connection to you replace it with what is appropriate for you individually. Just allowing, feeling, connecting your soul into your own body, allowing your soul's embodiment to take the place of what is no longer here. Feeling the bones in your bone marrow, bone marrow in the blood, holding the frequency of your soul, just allowing that to come more fully into your body. Letting all the stories, myths, and legends, and who's to know which is which and where one ends and the other begins. Letting all of that related or associated to the islands, anything in your own personal life, just allowing that to be raised to the highest perspective of your soul. Anywhere and everywhere there are stories of division that no longer serve the fullness of creation. Just allowing these to be resolved, released. Starting to work in Uhane now, just any aspects of competition held or contained in the heart. All ideas, beliefs, conclusions, understandings, perspectives, or perceptions, identities, attachments, and overlays related to scarcity held in the heart. All the beliefs in the heart that are incongruent, incompatible to who you are and who you are becoming, all pulled, released, and resolved. Working on the land itself, just allowing all aspects of the islands that are ready to be released, resolved, closed. Just really feeling seeing from your soul's perspective the highest, fullest expression of the islands themselves. The islands also have their own centers. Punihipili, Ohane, Aumakua. Feeling the beliefs that are held in the land itself that are no longer serving our people, our communities, or the world. Allowing these to be released, resolved, and purified through our collective attention and intention. Feeling, witnessing all relational patterns in your life. Harmonizing in the highest, best, and healthiest way for you at this time. Anywhere and everywhere that you have conflict, relationally, subconscious, conscious, unconscious. Witnessing that being purified through your soul's direct connection to your body and the beyond. It's bringing your soul's highest, fullest perspective of each of these relationships into your heart, purifying all your beliefs about them, about yourself, about the relationship itself. Part of the reason for this is as the frequencies of heaven or the higher realms, whatever you want to call it, begin merging with the physical architecture of the planet, the actual relationship of those two things is different because they're merging. The expression of unity consciousness is already here. And so the quality of your relating must also be shifted and changed. All patterns that are incongruent and incompatible to who you are and who you are becoming, resolving them, allowing any conflicts or conflict shocks related or associated to relationships in your life, allowing these to be resolved in the brain, psyche, tissue, organ, and cell levels, pulling all incongruent, incompatible information from the nervous system related to these conflicts, allowing your nervous system to reset to a new 0 point as directed by your soul's direct connection to this body and the beyond. As that's happening, just being aware of the lungs, the lung meridians, processing the grief, mostly of the stories. Just remembering that sadness is not wrong. It's just a neutral experience that's showing you part of you is wishing for less than what you're destined to receive. It doesn't mean that we need to change sadness into happiness for what's coming. It's just recognizing the value and benefit of what sadness is providing. So all of these stories, beliefs, experiences that live in the heart related to these relationships, allowing them to be melted, shifted, resolved as directed by your soul. A lot of work in the kidneys right now, just purifying fear from the event itself. And any event in your life related or associated to this level of shock, pain, any current events that you are focused on, past events, worries of the future. It's really allowing your soul to purify all patterns, functions, waves related or associated to fear and worry that are incongruent, incompatible to who you are and who you are becoming. The best thing that you can do for worry and fear right now is to come more fully into your body. What will harmonize the light and the sound merging in your own body is the breath. Breath is what keeps the frequency of the soul in the physical form. Where you're not breathing, where you haven't breathed before, that's what's called trauma. Trauma is held in the body until we breathe through it. And we can go into the stories or reasons as to why that's there, but functionally, it's not necessary. So just allowing all somatic processes that need to happen at this time with the most grace, ease, and mercy, just breathing to any tension still in your body at this moment. Breathing into the tension and exhaling it out through the bottom of your spinal cord into the earth. Who always know how to breathe. If you don't know how to breathe, go into nature. And ask nature, tell nature, show me how to breathe. Show me how to be in harmony with all that's happening. Especially so many of us on the spiritual path or having Kundalini awakenings or whatever kind of experiences you're having. We're all having different kinds of experiences, but we're all feeling our own unique perspective of a massive increase of energy. Go into nature when you're overwhelmed. Does nature look overwhelmed by what's happening in the world? It's not that it's not aware of what's happening, but it's not overwhelmed because it exists in a space of perpetual presence and shakes off what is no longer present after it is finished. Shaking, jumping, moving, allowing that energy to be moved out of your system is so important. So just anywhere and everywhere your body is holding on to the old coordinates of where we were collectively, individually, relationally, anywhere and everywhere in your life where there's a grip to the old aspect of you that doesn't even exist anymore, never served you, wasn't you, had nothing to do with you. Allowing all aspects of this to release, resolve to completion, sending it all back to the light and replacing it with your soul's direct connection. More of your soul's embodiment. Feeling your heart right now, becoming aware of any patterns of tension here. So witnessing some blocks and barriers between the left and right aspects of the heart. So anywhere and everywhere, masculine and feminine energy has been divided within your being that's incongruent, incompatible to who you are and who you are becoming, just allowing these blocks and barriers to be melted, return to source. Any walls or barriers that you've built up between yourself and others, whether you remember them or not. Allowing the full expression of any anger, rage, sadness to be fully acknowledged in equal proportion to the amount of forgiveness and compassion that you can become aware of, and vice versa, balancing total compassion and absolute rage for all that has occurred, fully honoring the human and spiritual aspects of your being, your life, your experiences. If we're to honor the fullness of the light and sound, to bring heaven fully into the body, to allow the body to fully enter heaven. It's not going to happen later, it's going to happen now. The words come as you are right now. So just anywhere and everywhere where you've sequestered love from yourself, from the world around you, letting yourself feel what it feels like. Show me what it feels like if I could love myself. Show me what it feels like to love myself. Show me how lovable I am. Show me how lovable the world around me is. Show me what it feels like to be powerful in a world that has forgotten itself. A lot of lung energy, a lot of grief moving through. Just allowing yourself to feel safe. I give myself permission to feel my grief, and it's okay. Slowing down to speeding up, just bowing more and more of your being to fall into this 0 point stillness. The energy starts to move up into Aumakua. The crown of your head. Really bringing in the energy of Iao. Io. Heaven touching the planet. The sound catching up with the light of creation. The fullness of your spirit finally entering the fullness of your body. It's all very poetic. We can consciously move through this process, or we can experience our power as an external force that requires us to do it through more trauma. And that's not as punishment. And anywhere and everywhere, there are still patterns of punishment, especially in the mental plane. It's pulling, releasing, resolving these to completion. All waves, patterns, and functions of victim and victimizer. All archetypes of victim and victimizer, powerlessness, overpower, underpower, any polarization around your experience that makes you feel overpowered, whether overpowered by external forces or by your own limiting beliefs or patterning. Anywhere and everywhere where you've experienced yourself to be a victim or others outside of you to be a victim to something else. Fully knowing and receiving from Source's perspective that we no longer require to see, experience, or witness victims in order to apply our heart. We no longer require trauma in order to open ourselves to more of our soul. And whether we experience more unpleasant things or not, fully knowing and receiving that all is assisting us in the highest, best, and healthiest way. Just feeling, knowing, understanding that when you fully align with the transformation, nothing is here to hurt or harm you, only hone you. It's truly the medicine of Kilau Pueo. To know that you can stand in the fire long enough to become it. And that the rebirth is through us. And that through us is with more love, more aloha, more community. And it's in the holding each other and ourselves through whatever process is occurring at this time. allowing any patterns of thought that are incongruent and incompatible to who you are and who you are becoming, just allowing them to zero out. Just really feeling your mind going blank. Entering a state and a place within yourself. Allowing all aspects of crisis, whether on the planet, in your life, whether it's war or warming, struggles economically, anything in your family, environmental, indigenous, all conflicts between indigenous and colonizer, all storylines related or associated to that. Just allowing anywhere and everywhere where crisis has touched, anything that you witnessed, remembered or forgotten, discovered or undiscovered where crisis was an element. Just allowing all waves, frequencies, and patterns connected to this to drop back down into 0 point now. Thank you, show me. Letting any unexpressed emotion from any of these experiences held in the throat, in the esophagus, anywhere in your body there's unexpressed emotion connected to any of these crisis experiences, allowing it to be fully released, resolved to completion now. With that clarification, just dropping back down into the heart as that opens up more space to clear any remaining beliefs. What do all those stories of crisis tell you to believe about yourself, about the world. That's not true, that's incongruent and incompatible to who you are and who you are becoming. Allowing these to be pulled, released, and replaced according to your soul's direct connection to you. As we all start to come out of groupthink, out of consensus reality, anywhere and everywhere where we've agreed to a specific storyline that's damaging ourselves or the world around us, just allowing any hooks or cords to these ideas to be released and resolved to completion. Any storylines that divide us from our brothers and sisters, anywhere and everywhere in the world, whatever you experience that to be. Whether you knew it was there or not, just bringing your attention to any of those patterns of tension in the heart, even if those patterns of tension are directed towards yourself. Primary relationship to be corrected is always with yourself. Any imbalances between the four quadrants of your being, your masculine, your feminine, your divine and human parts. Really just different ways of looking at the same holistic being, but anywhere there are incongruencies, imbalances, just allowing your soul to reorganize this on your behalf in the highest, best, and healthiest way for you at this time. Feeling that settle as we drop back into Unihipili, into the gut, your spirit, your na'au, your guts. Just feeling your body, recognizing great shift that's occurred here. Some of you may be able to feel how there's now new organizations to be done in the gut, more patterns of tension that you're aware of now. Before you couldn't see it because the rest of you was clogged. So just bringing your attention to any pattern of tension. If you don't know, show me any remaining tension in my body. Just allowing yourself to rest, relax, and unwind. Any energetic architecture holding these patterns of tension together, just allowing your soul to release it. There may be some patterns of tension that you don't want them to be there. And the easiest way for this to be released is to pay attention to what is there that you don't want to feel. What do you not want to feel? And then tell yourself, I want to feel this, and just allow that to be the access point of releasing what's there. You're just releasing resistance to what's held in the body. We're going a lot deeper now because of how much we cleared in the other centers. The more you clear in each center, it clarifies the others, and it works like an engine propelling you forward energetically every single time you clarify something in any of your 3 centers. Clarify in the mind, the heart, the gut. You just keep getting clearer and clearer as more of your soul integrates and embodies in form, so that your soul and who you know yourself to be isn't just an idea or a fantasy, but a lived experience in your animated body by the spirit and soul that you're here to be. And the only way that you can be effective in this reality, especially moving forward, is by being inside of your body. And as the world continues to face and experience greater and greater pressures of being pressed into the body, the experience will be great traumas and destructions and whatever happens on the surface. But listen to your spirit. What is actually happening is that everything is being reformed so that your true essence can be here. And if your only focus in this life is to allow whatever happens to propel you forward in your own transformation and embodiment as a soul, nothing can hurt or harm you. You are only hurt or harmed when you exit your now, exit your heart, and go into a fragmented version of your mind called victimhood. The mind is where victim and victimizer are 2 archetypes that play out. And in order to integrate all these fragments from all the trauma that we've experienced, is to recognize that the only one that can say that your power was taken away from you somehow is you. So if the things in your life that took away your power require you to believe that they took your power away in order for that to be true, where does power truly lie? Just recognizing that your spirit, no matter how contained inside of a body, will always and only feel as free as you are committed to the experience that you're having. And when you are fully committed to this experience of being human, you're free to be as divine as you wish. And allowing any and all ideas and perceptions about being a human or being divine anything about human being less than, anything divine being ridiculous or untrue, just allowing all of it to be released. The most important piece of what has occurred on Maui energetically is that we now have new coordinates. And those new coordinates say that we're in a very different location. Life will never be the same again. And in accepting those new coordinates, then and only then can we be effective. And the only thing that is going to be effective moving forward is love. And the reason for this is because love is the activity of light. And with the fullness of creation here now, the sound of creation filling the form of light. Things that you were placing in your life in order to fill that space that aren't actually true to form, so to speak, will be released and resolved. And if you can just trust that whatever is happening in your life, that whatever is happening on Maui, in the world, is only dissolving what's untrue so that more of what is meant to be can rise, you're going to be able to come from a place of love and not from a place of reaction. And not that reaction is bad. There are people that are meant to be in a reactive space right now because they're coming out of denial. If you're listening to this, the amount of denial that you have in comparison to perhaps the rest of the planet is greatly less. But we all have places in our life where we are experiencing numbness or denial, even if it's innocent. But the things that bother you are just things that are ready to shift and change so that more of your true essence can shine through. So with this great irritation of what has occurred on the land itself, shouldn't we be asking the land itself, what should we do here? How can we support you in becoming the best version of you? But we can't really do that if we don't even ask ourselves this question. So anywhere in your life there's been a personal fire, what has destroyed you the most? And maybe it's just a belief or an idea or a sense of self that continues to degrade you, almost haunt you. Bring that into focus. What is this really asking me to change? And show me how to change it with the greatest joy in my heart as I do so. Show me how to ask myself empowering questions that reveal the evidence of what is already here and the most direct and efficient path for me to embody more of what I'm meant to be. Allow yourself to be reacquainted to who you are. Let everything that you thought you were come undone. taking off all the thoughts of what you've been. Everything that's happened in your life, only opening you to greater compassion, forgiveness, love. Anything you're embarrassed and shameful of, just opening you to greater expressions of love, what it feels like to love a character that looked and behaved exactly as you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's only perceptions of yourself that are from an angle that isn't accurate. And that's why it feels off. And when it comes to big global events and all the desire for understanding, and whether they may be true or not, recognizing that truth will always come out and it will always be relevant for who is designed to hear it. And obsessive desires for truth that result in unhealthy contractions in your body are telling you that you're not the one designed to know about every conspiracy under the sea. Finding an addiction to truth that has no understanding of what truth feels like in the body doesn't even matter if it's factual. The reason and how you know it's true for you is, does it relax you in your nervous system or not? And if it's not relaxing you in your nervous system, it's not a truth for you to engage in. Truth is the activity of relief and the expansion of consciousness. So it may actually be factually accurate, but just understanding that it's not actually serving your particular journey if it's bringing you into states of contraction. And yet feeling contraction in relation to whatever is occurring in the world around you can also be a purgative effect in your nervous system. But don't let a stepping stone in your journey become a resting rock. Allow yourself to move forward. One of the biggest pains of this experience of having the fullness of your soul, of life, of reality itself coming in contact completely with the form, which is what happened when the sound of creation finally caught up with the light of creation, is that many of us are playing roles that are antiquated. We're playing into a character or version of ourselves that doesn't even exist anymore. And it's no longer appropriate for you, if that version or quality or trait is causing you restriction in your body.
We still going to church tomorrow?
So just recognizing any roles that you've been playing.
Shut the fuck up.
Just resting, relaxing, unwinding.
Can y'all shut the fuck up?
1 second. Witnessing the activity of irritation. One of the interesting things about your nervous system as you come into deeper layers of it, when you're coming into deep aspects of peace within yourself, at first it will actually trigger other people. And they won't know why they're being triggered. And the reason is because the nervous system, people think of like pain and trauma as being like additional pieces on top of like a baseline of safety. So it's like all these pieces above it. But actually, when you have trauma, what you consider safe becomes less, but that line moves up. So if someone comes into your field and you drop below that line, you're activating all that information and their energy that is above their ability to relax. And so it's not wrong for anyone to react or have experiences to something that is actually healing their nervous system. Because all it's showing you is the sound of the pain that's being released in that moment. And whether they cycle in that pain for longer or get to exit it completely at some point, whenever their soul is ready, there's one new mark of deeper layers of safety in their body's remembrance, whether their mind is able to access that or not. Just feeling complete here, giving yourselves a few breaths. Definitely not the transmission that I had planned, but exactly what needed to happen. Passing it over whenever she's ready to. Beautiful pie.
That was great, honestly. Like, I was just grooving the whole time. And while you were talking, I was getting so much like connections to my own aka, you know? Like, I got like notes. Like, I was like, this is great. This is confirming so much for me right now. That was great. Thank you. I feel super like, I don't know, like released. I feel released
Yes.
from pressure, which brings me into what I'm going to show you guys. So every single thing that you talked about, like on point, just like on point. We just describe them differently, but the words that you say, I'm like, that matches the word that I use, you know? The reason we all feel this pressure, especially in these times, is because that's what, so in Kanaka culture, Ku is the god of war, okay? People tried to define who this was. They couldn't really define it. He's, from my kupuna's understanding and my understanding, he is Satan. He's Lucifer, okay? And he only exists as darkness. He's not stillness, he's silence. When I've read that, and I know somebody who was deeply affected by this, silent treatment. It's one of the most abusive things emotionally, because you're not sure what that silence means, right? And it puts on a lot of pressure. You can't observe anything because it's just complete silence. Your Akka can't attach to what's going on around you. Your Akka cord is your thin silvery thread of all thought. It's a spiritual thing, it's a physical thing, emotional and mental, and it's sticky, so it attaches to things, right? But in silence, there's nothing to attach to, so you're just kind of floating, right? Pressure. There's pressure. You don't know what to do. And that's kind of where we're at right now. Our whole mind, body, spirit is pressure. It's inked. That's what the ku is ink. I'm going to show you guys something. If you're looking at the camera, I'm going to show you this, like, this is basically your inner compass right here, the big circle. Okay. On the outside is Ku, god of war. He's on the outside of this circle. And this circle represents a he'e. There's 8 legs to it. This right here is very valuable if you're watching this right now.
Tell them what a he'e.
Oh, my husband's right here. A he'e, oh, sorry. A he'e is an octopus, by the way. And in Aotearoa, it represents pure enlightenment, connection, community. The head represents, clear, just a clear pathway into true enlightenment, which is the center of the circle. The little triangle, where is it? Right there. True enlightenment is the third eye. Right here, Hakiaka. Your body's aquifer. When you're living in that constant state of like filtering, right? It's bliss because you're so awake and you can observe everything with your akka. But if you're in the dark in that inky thing, that in that inky substance that the octopus releases to protect itself, you don't know where you are. You don't know what's going on. You're in complete darkness. That's why the octopus does that. That's why it releases ink, is to protect itself, to get away. You literally go into a spiritual hiding, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, when harm is around you or directed at you. And right now it's directed at everybody. I mean, look who came in to the video chat, right? I mean, it's powerful right now because there's all of these little pillars of light gathering, like this little group or little families in their homes, big families, right? It's targeting us right now because there's a lot of ink on this circle. The circle is in the mind, body, and spirit. It's the trifecta, right? The Lokahi triangle. If one of those gets inked, like it's like cotton, right? When you get blood on it, it's hard to get out. And it blooms, it flowers on the fabric. Same with octopus ink. It blooms when it touches fabric. It blooms in the water. When you have that kind of blooming, it's like, well, of course you're going to be lost and in darkness, It's so much pressure. And he's around this circle constantly pushing in because we're in the wrong order. Elementally, by race, by skin color. And we're all mixed, but whatever we feel closest to inside, for me, right, I'm half Kanaka and I'm half like other things, white, Chinese, all kinds of mixtures. But I feel closely to my Kanaka Maui teachings and heritage. So I don't push aside the others. I bring them in closer to my Kanaka Maui, and I collectively combine my ancestral's love for me using my Kanaka Maui connection that I have naturally, right? That's my most powerful line. So I just collect them in and it gives me that like clarity, right? It huddles me into the head of the octopus. And then it's easier to see through the ink, right? The ink is pressure, but if I'm a light and I'm shining it into the darkness, I've got a path, I've got an akka, I've got things I can observe and attach to. I'm not lost, right? I've got things to hold on to grab onto, to notice and be like, I need to get there, right? Into that safe space. It really is a battle of the light and the dark right now, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, all of it, and physically. Because then, like you said, the trauma affects us on a physical level as well. So we're all sick in lots of tension and pressure, constant pressure. And the thing is, the darkest place on the map right now is Palestine. And it's taking our attention. That's what Ku, God of War, does. He gets our attention. In the Hawaiian dictionary, which I reference like the Bible, by the way, this is like, look how like tore up it is. Like, I love this book. It's the best thing in the world. I use it to reference everything that I'm talking about because the Kanaka Maoli language was once the language of the angels. It connected directly to the divine, just like ancient Greek, Hebrew, and Latin. Only 4 languages, and Maoli was one of them. So I reference the dictionary, but instead of looking at the ink of the words on the pages, right, the octopus ink that hides the truth, I use my aka instead. And I combine all the little definitions of each word into what it paints a picture as, because that's what the language of the angels does. It paints a picture for you so that you can telepathically kind of imagine what that other person's aka is trying to tell you. You communicate that way. It's very intimate and it's very close and loving, full of aloha, because you're in that moment present with the breath, right? So when I read this book, all books that I read, but this book especially, I read the definition and I break it up into pieces and I put them all together and it paints a beautiful picture in my head. I can get to know the aka of words. So for Ku and the ink of the octopus, right? We've got obake bites, which happens when you go into a place that has bad energy. It happens a lot on Big Island. People will get an obake bite and it's like an actual physical bite from a dark entity, right? And it leaves a bruise, teeth marks and bruise. And that's pressure. And even the chest press that people have gotten, my husband's gotten it, where you can't move, you can't open your eyes and you can't breathe. And it's like you get all that pressure on you. That's Ku. And obake, when you break apart the words and you make it paint a picture, it means to get your attention. Pressure. He's trying to get our attention to scare us. That's what he feeds off of. He's simply a dark energy. That's it. But he's very powerful because we live in this field of light. This whole circle is light, right? Of course, he's going to be attracted to it. It's like a moth to a flame, you know? But that's the thing. We're all elementally wrong. Here's the elements right here. We've got fire. These are rings that go all to the center in a spiral in like a piko or a koru. You've got fire. This is the correct balance. Fire, water, air, earth. Okay. And right now we've got fire in the middle. And then we've got earth, water, and air jumbled around it. Fire has come in from the outside ring and destroyed everything. And now we're all having heart problems. And the heart is Lahaina. Okay. The heart is Lahaina. And it caught fire in multiple places on this island and other islands at the same time. When you've got fire going in like that, there's no water. Yeah. This is also water. This can go very deep. I can talk about this compass for the eternities. That's this thing is the eternities right here. Flower of life, this is the flower of life, okay? No one's been able to decipher it because they're not Kanaka Maoli. You have to read it with the aka, not the ink, you know? Lahaina's the middle. This represents Father Sky, Mother Earth, Lono. We're the only culture that calls him Lono, who is, everybody else knows as Christ. I don't like to use Christ, but that's who it is, okay? Lo is enlightened. It's the front portion of your skull. No can be indeed or behold. But if you look in the dictionary, it also says the 5th note on a music sheet. The 5th note on a music sheet in ancient Greek is soul, S-O-L. Heart and soul. The soul is the solar plexus, the pikikoa, the sweetest nectar of Eo's love, God's love. Okay. Soul, also translated, is sun, S-U-N. Lahaina is the relentless sun. Prophecies have said the sun will go black when it's time for a rebirth. And that's firmly what my people believed, and what has been kept alive in my family specifically, was this knowledge. This is what I grew up with, right? So you've got the soul on fire. You've got the heart of Mother Earth on fire. You've got dehydration all over the world. You've got earth, air, and water floods, tornadoes, droughts, wildfires. It's in the wrong order. People are forgetting who they are. And the way to connect with who you are is your genealogy. This Akka cord is about epigenetics and neuroscience, and it's also a DNA strand. If we don't know who we are and where we come from, how the heck are we going to know where we're going? How the heck? That's a firm belief on this compass for navigating the stars, because you can navigate the stars with this too. And the sea, and the wind, and the bird patterns, and the waves. It navigates anything you want it to navigate. How the heck can you know where you're going if you don't know where you're going? If you don't know where you come from? You can't. It's not possible. Birds know this. Birds teach us this. If they come from a certain place across the sea and you see it flying twice, you know it's coming there and going back. You have to know where it's coming from. Then you know there's land where it's coming from, right? You have to know where you're from to know where you're going. It's all about reconnecting with our roots, because fire is people who are white. So I've got fire. My husband's got fire. We all have a mixture of these. Water is Black people, Africans, Aboriginals, Australia especially. And then you've got air, who is Asian people. And then you've got earth, who is indigenous, like reddish brown, the reddish brown people. And right now we're all scattered and we're all out of balance and we're all out of place, right? Because we're all hiding in the tension and the pressure and the trauma. If we all healed collectively, not all of us, but a good handful of us at least, right, across the globe, that could raise our consciousness so high that it would hum. And that's the sound of the poo shell in my culture. That's a poo shell, a trumpet. We're supposed to be ushering in a new world, and we're doing groups like this. We're all trying to heal and ho'oponopono, which is what I teach, right? And that's exactly what we need to do. People are looking for overcomplicated solutions outside of healing groups. They're saying we need to do this and this and this, and they're focusing their attention on Palestine, right? Lahaina has been forgotten on like a huge level because it's not being covered in the news. The healing has to start here. The attention's on Palestine, you see, the ink, the bloodshed. It's on a different part of the world right now. When the root is here, the root is, this was the tipping point, and Palestine's the overflow. If we can just tip the bowl back over, right? And that's Mu culture. That's ancient Kanaka Maoli culture. If you just tip out your bowl of light when you fill it with dark stones from your trauma, you can tip them out and put your bowl back up right, and it'll be full of light again. We started as a bowl of light. We've got stones in it now, and we have to tip it out. Lahaina is the sun that has become Black, and we need to tip out the trauma that happens here, because it's killing Papa, who we live closer to, and we're not even making it up to Father Sky. And this is also the brain, heart, and gut, by the way. So we're all here in our Unihipili right now, a lot of us. And we need to come up here. We need to at least meet in the middle. Right now, we're all down here, right? We're not really collectively enlightened as a group. We're all out of place. The elements are out of place because we don't know who we are because of the pressure. It's all related. And this is also a web of Akka cords. So it's like a spider's web. It connects on all dimensions, fields, physically, spiritually, all the things. Okay. We are not connecting to each other's thought processes like as a whole, as a big group. You know, our Akkas are on Palestine, our Akkas are on our own traumas, feeling guilty for our traumas because there's so much pressure from other places, right, where people are getting hurt. But if we all just collectively focused on the one place that the sun should be shining, that there should be water flowing freely, we're going to heal, and it's going to create a cataclysmic, like you said, Barrett, a cataclysmic change. All the pressure, what does pressure do onto a blackened, you know, piece of land like a stone? Pressure and stone, boom, you've got a diamond. It's a literal rebirth that we're waiting for here. And we have to be the ones to usher it in with the poo shell, with the hum of our consciousness. Because if we don't, Papa will die. This is a fact. And we will go with her. If we have no land and no water, we're dying next. Child follows the mother, you know. People think the earth can keep regenerating. She can't when we keep putting pressure on her like this. It's too much. She's a real human being in my mind. She's like my own mother. And she's got black mind, body, and spirit. She's got an owl pole, black gut. And it's killing her from the inside out. And we feel it instinctively, right? And we're like, what is that feeling? I don't know. Well, that's because the indigenous aren't in the center. We're getting moved out of Lahaina. We're getting moved out of Maui because of the pressure, right? Because the fire people are in the wrong position of the compass. And it's not like they have to move to their places that they belong. They have to be there in mind, heart, and spirit. You have to really know who you are. That's the only way we're all going to heal. And the only way to know who you are is to heal your traumas, because that's where your spirit lives, is in your gut. If your gut is black, you're not going to know who you really are. You are a spiritual being in a human body. And that's just a fact. We're not humans in a spiritual body. We're spiritual on every level. And Kanaka Maoli are really good at understanding this because we lived in the middle of earth and heaven. We used to be what everybody uses now as the term mahu. That was actually the word to call us, everybody, on an entire mass level. We all were mahu because we lived in between. Mahu was in between. We lived in between spiritual realm and earthly realm, the physical and the celestial, because we could see with the Akka, Kanaka Maoli. We are the people of the Akka. And who can see all of our Akkas at one time, right? Only Papa Hanamotu and Io, Father Sky and Mother Earth. They're the only two beings that can see everybody's Akka. Lono, from my understanding, he can get to know everybody's Akka. He's always learning. He is the enlightened one. He's always connecting to somebody's Akka, no matter what he does. He's seeing your Akka before you even know it. That's how powerful he is. Akka, sure, what is this? Akka cord it's the center. It runs from the crown of our head to the soles of our feet. It's a thread of all thought. Our mana and our life energy runs through it. Our mana is like our spiritual power. Life energy is separate, but they do run together. They're two in one, right? The mana is the blue light. Life energy is gold. Life energy is like your chi. It's like mana and chi combined. And I like to just say mana and just have it intentionally be like, well, it's a braided woven band of life energy and mana. It's like when I say mana, my intention is that it's both, right? That's what gives it all that power. And the Aka cord, we there's other indigenous cultures that talk about this. There's a thread that connects us, our Aka, our thread of thought, and we weave it with plants, animals, birds, atoms in the air. We're supposed to be weaving it, right, into each other. But instead, we're all blocked off. Our third eye is closed, it's partially open, right? So the Aka can't come out and observe, like, let me connect my Aka to the birds right now and see from their perspective, where are they coming from? Why are they going in that direction? Why are they singing that song right now? What does this mean? What season is it? It's all connected. It helps us observe. It pulls us out of our mind, out of the darkness, into light. Na'aupo is pure darkness of the mind, body, and spirit. Na'auwau is pure enlightenment, bright gut. It's the exact opposite. If you're in the darkness, you're not learning, you're not using your Aka. You're not learning with your he'e, with your octopus head. Instead, you're learning with the ink that it squirts out into the water. Which brings me back to, like, the elements are out of order. If the fire's not out here protecting us from the outer darkness, right? You've got water, earth, and air next to the squid ink. The squid ink is just going to overtake each of those elements. I mean, you add it with the air, you've got twisters. You add it with the earth, you've got tar. You add it with the water, you've got ink and water. That's a terrible combination. You want fire there. They're like the protectors. Aboriginals and Africans, they're the second line of defense. We can't have water next to earth, and it'll flood the earth. And if it's solely next to the air without earth grounding us, then you've got twisters and hurricanes and tsunamis, right? It has to be in this order, but it's all out of order. So you've got the fire people with their Aka. They're thinking with their Aka, how can I get material power, right? Without realizing how spiritually powerful they are. We like the fire people keep out the pressure, right? And they think, oh, we got to get to the heart to be important. No, we can't have warmth in the center without fire on the outer ring. It needs to be a balance, you see. If it's too close, the middle will get overheated and we've got heart attacks and strokes. You got to move it to the outside. And not just heart attacks and strokes to people, but to the land. She's dying, and the solar system. And all of this affects the solar system, right? Because it's a solar system, just like the body, a system, a nervous system, right? If our planet's out of sync and out of order, we're affecting the moon. We're affecting the sun. We're affecting the stars. We're affecting every other planet. We're killing the entire solar system. But people are like, oh, it's just the world, she can recuperate. Pardon me, this is like indigenous belief. We are a part of a system, and if we kill Mother Earth, we are killing the entire universe. The entire universe is blacking out, you know? The moon is hungry for wisdom because that's what the moon gives, wisdom. But if we've all got black gut, which covers up our wisdom that lives in the Na'auwau, she's hungry. And we're not feeding her. Instead, we're giving her darkness and pressure. And it's putting too much strain on her. How can somebody, give us wisdom when they're deficient in their own life source, their life essence, their Maui, Mauri, Mauri, life essence, which is this word that we share with the people of Aotearoa, Maori. Ours is Maoli. Our L's used to be ours. We come from the same ancestor line, us and the Aotearoa, people of Aotearoa. So a lot of this knowledge the people of Aotearoa already have. and they all know what's going on. Their language is trying to get shoved down, is trying to get erased. And without their language, we're lost because we're the same people. They're the protectors of our spirituality. And we're the aloha, we're the breath. They're the haka. Then you've got the Dine, who are the Native Americans. And then you've got, Hispanics. Those are the earth people. You've got Guatemala, right? And then you've got Japan, China. You've got their wind instruments to help us feel like we can breathe, because with pressure we feel suffocating, right? And you've got their flutes and their harps. And then you've got water, that soothing relief, kind of like a whale when it's swimming. It comes up for air and then it comes back down. It comes up for air. That's us during the day. We need water and air throughout the day for flow. We need earth to ground us and fire to keep away the darkness. But because it's all out of order, the fire is causing the darkness. The water is flooding the earth, or it's dehydrated from it. The wind is out of control everywhere. I mean, like you said, it was windy that day. I remember we had left our house because there was so much dirt flying into our home that everything got black. And our windows were closed. It was getting through all the little cracks. So we left our house. We went up to up country. And when we looked back down towards our house, which Lahaina's right behind it, behind a mountain, you couldn't see even into town. It was just black. You could see nothing. We didn't even know there was a fire down there because it was that black with dirt.
Couldn't see the fire down the country.
Yeah, we couldn't even see the fires in up country. It was just black, and we were in the middle in up country, and we were looking at both, and we were like, what is happening right now? And then when we were driving home, we saw the fires up country, and we were like, oh my gosh. And then the smoke was coming in. So we were in the middle of it, right? We're in the middle. We're in Waikapu. We're right on the other side of Lahaina. A mountain crosses us, and then we can also see up country. So we could see both fire, the smoke from Lahaina and the fire in front of us. And the wind was relentless that entire day, day and night. It was relentless. And our house, we're still cleaning up soot to this day, because that much came into the home, even with the windows closed. That's how out of order our elements are. And then you've got people who are Fire Nation and Air Nation in charge of our water. You got fire and air in charge of the water. People are dying because the people don't know who they are. They don't know what their purpose and place is in the world. It's killing Papa. It's killing each other. Indigenous should lead the way. Indigenous are the heartbeat. Lahaina is the heartbeat. And I'm not even from Lahaina. My husband's family is. I'm from Big Island. I'm from Mauna Kea and Pololu Valley. But this hurt me on a blood level because this is my land. This is my people. Even the locals that are not Kanaka, that hurt me. That hurts, because they love our land too. And so to get that heartbeat back, we have to go through that rebirth, like you were saying, Barrett. We have to drop down into the gut. We've already dropped down into the gut, actually. And now we got to come back up. And that's what Ho'oponopono does. It brings you back up, right? It needs to ho'opo. Houpo. Ho'opo is a beat of a solar plexus. And the solar plexus is here. That's Lono. And right now it's faint, or it's not beating at all. It needs to go up. This needs to come up so this can beat. Ho'opo, ho'opo, yeah, ho'opo. And it needs to pump, ho'opo, to make that echo, because this is also a echolocation chart for whales and bats and things, like the opepa or the hohole bat, if you know what those are. And then also for the whales. Because in my dreams and visions, I've been getting a lot about the whales. We forget that they're our ancestors too. They're tired. in their week because we're forgetting about them. It's like the Day of the Dead, how they say if you don't put the picture up, they go into the dark. They feel forgotten, they feel lonely, and pressure and loneliness go really well together. So you've got Ku infiltrating everything because we're all lonely inside, because everything's out of order. If we were just if we just knew our place, right? We knew where we came from. We know where we're going. We want to do it together. We want to ho'oponopono, and we want to just go through our pain instead of around it. Instead of circling it like sharks, we just got to go through it, just like a hit, just like an octopus, right? We have to have that bravery because bravery ignites the pikikoa and it gives us that inner guidance, that warmth from the sun, sun and son, you know? I mean, it's beautiful, right? It's very poetic. When you see this compass, it simplifies what we're supposed to do on like a very intrinsic level because it's the truth. It's the truth. No one's been able to decipher this compass ever. We're talking Einstein, Isaac Newton, all the greats, right? But they were looking and studying it from the perspective of the ink of the octopus. You have to study this compass with the Akka, with your spiritual mind, with your spiritual observations, with how you connect to everything around you. And your Akka can only connect when you unclog it and detangle it from that tension it's tangled up in with that pressure. You have to just release, unwind, release, and dissolve the pressure in your gut. Let that mana come back up into the heart and brain because it's been drained when we go through painful things. Just whoosh down into the unihipili, into the na'au. And we don't ever come back up. We're supposed to be growing like a kalo plant, like a taro plant, up towards the sun. Magnesium, nourishment, water, love, TLC, right? And yet we don't. It's hard. It's because of the pressure that we all feel. It's all connected. And that's just to say, if we all just focus our energy on healing ourselves inside, the pressure will leave and we'll be able to expand our consciousness to each other and connect our Akka cords together, weave them like a spider's web, like a blanket or a straw basket, right? But instead, we're just separated, disconnected, wondering what do we do because of the pressure. It's very hard to navigate, but this helps you navigate and to see how much love is inside of you, because this is the pikikoa, this compass, right? The pikikoa is the solar plexus, which is also the single cell that we are all created from in the body when we're first created in the womb, and then it's the spine. And if that cell is made from all the cells of our ancestors, which my people believe, then every cell in my skin you're looking at, every hair, eyelash, eyebrow, hair on my head, my widow's peak, all of it is love. Just love. That's what we're made from, right? That's how much we're loved. Isn't that crazy? There's just that love, that whole pull, and it's always pulsing inside of us, and we just don't see it because of the inky pressure that we're all under. Feels heavy, like it's on our backs, like it's on our minds, bodies, and spirits. It breaks us, yeah. But we have to come back together, release that tension in the gut, and emotionally try to mature. Emotionally try to catch up to the age we are now. Because when we go through trauma, boy, do we get stunted emotionally. And emotions live in the gut. If emotions live in the gut and we hit a limit at the age where like we don't even hit teenage years yet, or kupuna age, the elder's age, right? We're still down here. We're just a little seedling inside of our gut. We have to give ourselves that self-love and nourishment and sunlight the 7 basic needs that I teach about, because that nurtures your picos of the body, because this also has all the picos of the body. All 7 of them are on this thing, right? If we can nurture with those things, it's over. We're going to be rising so high. Boom, you've got the phoenix rising from the ashes, right? I mean, it would be beautiful. And it would be that diamond that pressure would create, because it would be like an explosion of consciousness, an explosion of energy, because we're all just suddenly, boom, coming back up into the heart, into the head. Like, I mean, come on, that would be amazingly cool. I'm excited to help usher this kind of knowledge into today's times, because that's what love is. It's infinite, and you want to usher it in, and you want to learn about it, and it just goes on forever, for eternity, just constantly. But this all matches everything you said. I loved everything you said. Like, it connected on such a deep level when you said we need to bring the essence back in. That's what Maori means, Mauri. It means essence. And that comes from Mother Earth, Papa, whose English name or celestial name is Mauriel, Mauriel. We're all forgetting about her. Where's that Maori energy, right? She's dying. That's why the indigenous has to be the center. That's why Lahaina specifically has to have the attention and the center, because we got to bring that heartbeat back. We got to give her that love, that essence. Her waters are all diverted. She's parched. It's so dry here on Maui. I've lived in AZ, and it's greener in Arizona. I can honestly say it's greener in Gilbert, Arizona, where I lived before. That's not normal to have greenery in the desert and not in an island. She's sick. She needs help. She needs essence. And we have to give that to her by healing. When we heal, we give ourselves that life essence back. And it brings us back up to Father Sky. Io, Kane, Keakua, whatever you want to call him, right? He didn't create the universe. He is the universe. And he was created out of pure energy. And that's why whenever I see him in visions and dreams, he's just white light and he hums. And so does Mauriel, by the way. I've seen all 3 of these people. I wouldn't call them people. Energies. Energies, perhaps, would be the proper word. I feel like Lono would be more made of matter, because he lived on this plane, on this dimension. And I've touched his hand and it's warm. And I gotta say, when I'm in their presence, I have a hard time leaving it. I have a really hard time leaving it, because it's that much love, It's so warm. And I love my family. I would never leave them, but that's how tempting it is to stay. That's how much they love us. Incomprehensible love is waiting for us, and we're blocking it. We're blocking it all. And it's just devastating, because it's waiting for us, right? It's just there for the taking. And we refuse it. And we just keep refusing it and refusing it. We have to bring the light back in to clear the Aka cord of Mother Earth, because she has one too, and that's what's clogged. That's what it is. We have to unclog her, help her come back to life. Everybody talks about God, right? Nobody talks about Papa. And it's the indigenous that are trying to bring her back, because we feel her, because we're the heart of her. She was born in Hawaii. This is her placenta. Her heart is here because she gave birth here to all the land. We are literally her children, right? But where is her name in today's teachings? Where is her name? I don't see it. I don't hear people saying it. Mauriel. We should be singing it from the tops of our lungs. Papa Hanamotu, you see how beautiful that sounds. That's how it's supposed to be said, like it's sung, like a hymn. And yet we just say, oh, yeah, it's just, she'll regenerate. If somebody said that to me after I gave birth, I'd be like, you're kidding me, right? Like, I need help, like ASAP, like stat. Like, I need my husband here. I need a nurse. I need my mom. Like, it has to be a collective healing, not just like, she'll regenerate. Like, what? So backwards, so backwards. You cannot be thinking like that, right? Who are we without Papa? We're nobody. She dies, we die. So this message that I want to share is Papa's got to come back. We got to bring her spirit back. She's experiencing, a spiritual death with Na'alpo, and we got to bring her back up the Aka. She's stuck. She's not in the heart, and she's not in the brain. She's down here, and she's drowning, and no one's protecting her. Fire element, water element, everybody's out of order. We got to come together and we got to heal. That's the answer. That's the answer. Group things like this, connecting to each other, seeing each other's akas. Like Barrett, I see your aka so clearly. Like you just describe things different. It's the same aka. It's the same one. We just have different backgrounds. Do you see how beautiful collaboration could be, for everybody? Realizing, oh my gosh, there's somebody like me, right? I'm not crazy. That's what it is. That's my message. Maurielle has to come back. Her spirit has to come back. And for her spirit to come back, remember our place. Remember where we come from. Ignite the Pikikoa and be brave. It's okay if you're white. It's okay if you're brown, black, Asian. It doesn't matter. What matters is your spirit. The element your spirit is attached to. That gives you mana, that gives you life energy, and that gives you power. And that's how we're all going to heal, is bringing that ancient, ancient knowledge to the forefront of our minds versus the elite time period of chiefs and slaves and commoners. We got to go back before that, when it was all just one kalo plant. From keiki, from baby, all the way up to kupuna. And we're just feasting from this knowledge from each other, just constantly seeing each other's akas at all times, just like Lono, just like Papa, just like Iyo. That's what's going to raise our energy levels into this new world that we should be creating to usher a new world in. We have to kind of pop the bubble, make it a reality. We're letting the reality kill us. Our spirits are stronger than this, especially if we combine them as a group, But yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Thanks for my TED Talk.
So beautiful, so powerful. And yeah, just I'm really excited for you to release your video on this. But when you showed me like a week and a half ago, you're like, oh, it activates something, like your third eye will be so open by and literally when I saw it, it shifted everything inside of me, because it's like I know these things, right? Like the earth, like balancing, like I'm obviously very fire, lots of creativity. And when you put it that way, I was like, oh my God, all the fire, all of the searching for technology and things to discover ways to solve and save the earth at this time is literally an out of order understanding of how to, like, the earth, people say the earth will heal itself, and it's like, yes, when we're honoring the correct order, it's designed to naturally do so. So it's not, and people who don't know me who are on this call now or later, like I mostly work as a medical intuitive and help people cure incurable disease. And you do that by correcting the order of the elements inside your own body and pulling and releasing trauma out of the body that's holding certain things in your body, right? So it's like, you know, viruses, bacteria, fungus, parasites, they all have an energetic component of something that they're connected to and trauma wise. And when you release that, there's no reason for those things to exist anymore. And so when you were showing me this, I was like, oh my God, like all of these problems that are on the earth, it's literally about like pulling that trauma, like processing the unprocessed trauma that's there collectively on the land, in communities, all these sorts of things, and simply reordering and honoring and coming into reverence for all the aspects, right? And I think part of what's happening is, you know, the different elements in existing in competition didn't get to experience the reverence of themselves in the synarchy, right? We've been in a hierarchical system versus a synarchy where we're all working together, and it's honoring and understanding. And when you think about it, right, if you have the indigenous at the center, like holding the planet, guiding, like that's kind of like the foundation, like we're going to honor the earth, like let's start there. Then you start building these elements, and then at the edge where the fire is, you have the creativity to create on this planet in balance with the earth. So it's not, it just makes so much sense. And I love also the piece of just like when I saw it, like a cell, like this is a single cell, and then it's expanding out, and there's all these different layers. And, you know, for me, when I'm working, it's like I'm seeing all these different layers and dimensions of reality, and they're all like one thing and stacked all together perfectly. And so it's just this theme of like organization and being able to organize yourself, especially with like, you know, your inner centers, your gut, your heart, and your mind, your unihipili, ohane, and aumakua. Like all of these pieces are so important, because if we're not organized correctly, how can we navigate? And you know, it's just the beauty of what's possible when these ideas, which are really just natural, you know, like before I, you know, started studying these sorts of things like unihipili, ohane, and aumakua, like I got the direct download. I was like, oh, there's 3 centers. They're in the mind, the heart, and the gut. They have these qualities, whatever. And then hearing this, right? So it's like, this is just how life functions, and we're just reacquainting ourselves with how life functions through this period of forgetting. And just to bring everything into the most simple, practical way to understand how to operate in this world. And people who don't know my story, grew up extremely traumatic life experiences to the point where I was blacked out from my body most of my childhood. My guides always told me one thing: no matter how much or how little love you receive, always give more. In this orientation towards life, darkness has no power. It only serves as a catalyst for more of you to become. And I just, everything that would happen in my experience, it was just like, okay, I'm just going to respond with more love or find how to love. It was just always the orientation, whether I was good at it in that moment or not. It's just about shining brighter and taking in everything. If someone shows you love, show them even greater love. If someone shows you darkness, show even greater love. Let whatever you take in be magnified, transmuted, and return to the world around you. That black ink of the He'i cannot get into your reality if your only orientation towards life, the only organizing prayer in your existence for you and your experience, is no matter how much or how little love I receive, I'm always going to give more. Really take that in. It's so powerful. And like I got that when I was like a little kid. Like there's no way that I could come up with this myself. So just whatever you have in your life, like write a list of all the things that are draining you of energy and everything that is giving you life, and just get really clear on what that is. Because if you're not functioning well in your life right now, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, whatever it is, just get very clear on what is ink and what is brightness in your life, so that you can focus on what needs to be resolved. And if you don't know, just ask. Show me how to resolve this. Begin letting your inner worlds teach you how to organize your life. If you don't know how to organize it, show me how to organize this. Show me how to love this part of myself. Show me Source's perspective of this. So I just want to leave you with something a little practical on how to begin really working with this. And please, you know, if you haven't already, from the post, follow Mindfully Kai, and when she releases this, the full video of the compass, just the organization internally, externally, it fits everything, and it's so beautiful. And I'm really excited for what you're sharing, love.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. That's aloha, right? You were talking about aloha, giving more than you receive. And that's why Lahaina and Hawaii is in the center, is because this is where aloha lives. Yeah, we just have to share it. So it's all going to be for free. I was going to charge at first, and I was like, that just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't. Having aloha in my veins, I have to just give it no matter what I get back, you know? So I'm excited to share that with you guys. Thank you, Barrett.
Love you all. Does anyone have any questions for either of us? You can put them in the chat or just unmute yourself at this point. All right.
Nene mai. You're welcome, everybody. Mahalo piha. Nene mai.
Aloha. Love you guys. See you soon.